Backstage with Mothership on Solid Rock Radio begins now. Hear the best in new music, artist interviews, stories from the road, and more. You are now backstage, and here's your host, Mothership.
Hey, welcome everybody. It's Monday, June 28th, and it just happens to be my wedding anniversary. So shout out to my husband Dan and I for putting up with each other for 41 years. On my show tonight, I have Justin James of Above Only. He's been working on some new music that will be ready soon, so I want you to be ready. I hope you enjoy the show.
So Justin James of Above Only. I'm not sure if I should ask, where have you been or where have I been? What's up, man?
Okay, so yeah, I've been right here in the studio in my home, writing and recording music. I'm kind of like a whack-a-mole. I guess I pop up once every few years and release some songs and go back down. But yeah, I've been right here in Cincinnati, Ohio, pounding away.
Well, you've got some new music. Before we talk about that, I want to go back to the beginning because I got to know you kind of back in 2012, I think, because, you know, any band that Ben Kasica was working with, I had my radar on because I always supported Skies Fall. So tell me a little bit about the first EP and how that process worked. Yeah,
so I'll start off by saying Ben Kasica is an all-star. He is not only a great musician, but the guy is a fantastic human being. Mm-hmm. And I can't mention his name without also mentioning Nick Radovanovic. And Nick Rad, they call him, because he's just as rad as they come. That guy has become a friend of mine, and we talk probably at least on a weekly basis via text. But that guy has been so pivotal in the music I record and write. And so that was all born out of Skies Fall. We recorded the EP in December of 2011. We released it early on in the spring of 12 and then did like a little cycle until the first part of 2013. So yeah, we were back at Skies Fall there in 11 when they were still in the garage in Kenosha, Wisconsin. And it was an incredible experience. I learned a lot. I would say that experience probably shaped how I write and record. So. Well,
there were 3 songs on that EP, and I just remember that Evil Never Sleeps is one of my favorites, and still I can sing every word of it. Yeah, I can still remember it. It just really was one of my favorites that you guys had on that.
Well, thank you. Evil Never Sleeps. That was something we kind of put together in the studio there. Ben was pivotal in the riff of that song. You know, lyrics were written on the fly, and that song came together and was birthed right there in Kenosha. Ben and Nick were both really pivotal in that song. And then, of course, Change and Goodbye. Those guys love those songs. And we recorded them. And, we had pretty moderate to great success, I would say, with those songs. We've had a lot of streams. So yeah.
I remember seeing Ben play it live with you, didn't he?
Yeah, he came down and hung out with us and played that song live. I was sicker than a dog at the CD release show. I can remember that. I can remember wrapping my neck up with like a scarf and a hot towel. And man, what a bad time to be sick. But Ben came down and he showed up and showed out, man. He was professional all the way through. So.
Now, didn't you use John Cooper's bass on that album?
Yeah, we used John Cooper's bass. That was an incredible experience. That thing is rock solid. And I think John uses that on most of his records for Skillet. Yeah, what an incredible piece of equipment. Jeff Kuntz used that thing and we were like, man, can we somehow sneak that thing out the back door or what? I mean, awesome.
After that, I lost track of you. What happened, man?
Go ahead and say it, Cindy. Yeah, so
You just dropped off the map for a long time.
We're going to call this Above Only Tells All. So let's go back before then even. Can we do that? Do we have the time?
Okay. Yeah, we got plenty of time.
Let me take it before Above Only. I started a band in the mid-2000s called Advocate 7. And Advocate 7 was, have you ever heard of the band Days of the New or Tantric?
I remember Tantric.
Yeah. So they were like an acoustic rock band, and that's what we were going to be. We started out as that, and then eventually got away from just the acoustics and started doing the electric stuff. So Advocate 7 cycled through a couple of drummers. We ended up looking for a drummer. That's how we got connected with Josh Oliver of Decipher Down through Advocate 7. Josh was kind of taking us under his wings. So we cycled through a drummer, talked to Josh about it. Josh said, hey, there's this really great band out of Memphis. And they had one song that he really thought was a smash hit. And he said, I don't want you reaching out to them. I want you to wait. But you may be able to plug in with some of those guys. I didn't listen to him. I reached out and got a hold of Chad Yarger. Long story short, Chad Yarger and Tim Dills of what was then Above Only moved to Cincinnati and stayed at my house, and then eventually stayed at Jeff's apartments right here in Cincinnati, Ohio. Upon the formation of that new band, it was short-lived that Tim Dills stayed here, actually moved back home. So we had Chad. We had the drummer we were looking for, but we wanted a fresh start, and we said, hey, let's name the band. For whatever reason, we ended up deciding to keep the name Above Only, but it was a new venture. So in order to establish the new venture, we wrote new music and recorded and released the EP that we just discussed with Evil Never Sleeps, Change, and Goodbye. And then a year later, those boys all split off and did their own thing. Chad quit the band, went home, got married. Jeff ended up moving north in Ohio. He's doing well, by the way. The guy that was our stand-in guitar player that would play parts that I had previously written, he moved back and went to Cleveland, Tennessee. So that left me in 2013 with myself recording music. So I think it took, 4 years before I released Bonnie and Clyde, which was a kind of a cool, fun rocker. And I think a year or two later, I released Forever With You. Since then, I've been in the process of just writing in the same vein as Listen Friend, which is now on airwaves and streaming platforms. And that's the first of about 12 songs that will come off a record called Darkness I Used to Know.
Nice. Maybe you should change the name to Justin Only.
That's been said before. Yeah.
That works for me.
You know what? Here's the deal. I want to say this. I stopped putting equity in what was Advocate 7 so that I could put equity in a new band. And that equity, it's what's sustained Above Only. No one else is doing Above Only. There may be a lot of chatter out of different corners of the world about the name Above Only, but there should be no mistake about it. I write and record and release all the music, and I keep at it. So
no facade.
Nope, there is no mask here.
Yeah.
That's the only way to do it. It's like we talked about earlier, touring and playing shows and coming out of a pandemic. It's really difficult right now. Rock is really difficult, let alone Christian rock, which is difficult. And I'm just keeping it all the way real. It's hard. It's a hard market. So it's not conducive to trying to go out and play shows. You can't even right now. Yeah, that's sort of what it is. It's writing and releasing music and releasing real music that people enjoy, that they can relate to. And that's what it's been about.
Yeah. You're not alone. There's a lot of people out there in the industry that it's just them or just a couple of them trying to hold everything together for the band. Yeah. It's tough going.
It is. I will say this. I've heard a lot of incredible, killer new music. It's one of the bands that I'm a pretty big fan of is Paradise Now. Man, that's some killer stuff. 9 Lashes has been coming out with stuff. These guys, they were always great, right?
Right.
But talk about some fantastic work. I think the times that we live in with software and with being able to push your own music on the internet to get it to all the digital streaming platforms, I think it helps the artist, 10, 20 years ago, you couldn't have done that. Yeah. So
you're doing this and then you have a profession on the side.
I'm a busy guy, man. I love staying connected in my church and doing music there. And, also I'm a big family guy. I stay involved with my wife and kids, and we own a business. I started a business with my wife and my best friend. The Lord has been so good to us. It's been very successful there. And, I was talking to somebody the other day. They called and said, dude, I just listened to your song, Listen Friend, and it's incredible. It's incredible. And they're like, what are you doing? Why aren't you on some stage somewhere playing? And it was humbling. It's like, thanks for the kind words, man. But at the same time, I feel like I'm living the rock star life. It may not be huge lights and fog machines, but man, I'm at home every night praying with my kids, loving on them before bedtime. We're healthy. We're happy. We've been fortunate to make it through the pandemic, and we've got a roof over our head. We've got a warm bed to lay in. I'm living the rock star life. There's no mistake about it. Yeah. I think everybody has to determine for themselves what success looks like and what it looks like to the Lord. And number one, I would say success is salvation in Christ. That's first and foremost. Outside of that, you've lost it all. And then past that, what good is it to gain the world and lose your soul? God first, family, and the rest is underneath that.
Backstage with Mothership returns after this. Check us out on Facebook at I'm with Mothership. This hour is being made possible by our business ministry partner, Anchor Bolt Express, the place for construction fasteners and a supporter of Christian music and this station. On the web at anchorboltexpress.com. You're listening to Backstage with Mothership on Solid Rock Radio.
Tell us a little more about Listen Friend.
So Listen Friend, man, since we're being so real, Cindy, I'm just going to tell you how that started. I was cutting my grass and I heard the chorus in my head. I hear music constantly. I wake up hearing music. I'm in the shower hearing music and singing like a crazy man. I was mowing my grass hearing music, and I heard that chorus. I shut the lawnmower off. The blades were still flying around, and I ran in the house. I grabbed my Paul Reed Smith, and I started playing the chords to the chorus, and the chorus was right there. I came down and started writing the verses, and the first verse was really sort of a personal verse about being down on yourself. You struggle, as a Christian. I think if you're aware of your own iniquity and your own sin, you can easily begin to condemn yourself instead of, and I don't mean to get into theology here, but can begin to condemn yourself instead of just resting in the fact that Christ's sacrifice is enough. It's not a license to sin, but, obviously the pursuit of holiness, man, and sanctification is something that if you're a born again Christian, you really, really want to please the Lord. And so I was thinking about my own shortcomings and what I don't like about myself in that first verse. And I just felt like it was okay to say, hey, sometimes it's okay to not be okay. And so that was how the first verse came to be. During the writing of the second verse, I felt like it was taking a darker turn. I want to preface it with this. I felt like those words just fell into my lap. I'd like to take credit for writing them, but I feel like the Lord just gave me the song. And so during the second verse, the song stopped being about me, and I really felt like the song became about us. And when I say that, I feel like it became a voice for the voiceless, or for those that were depressed or suicidal or really going through stuff that they didn't feel like they could talk about. But if they could talk about it, they didn't want you to have the answers. They just wanted you to be there and listen. And so that's how the song was born.
And I think that's huge right now. I think there is a mental health crisis going on with the pandemic, the church, and with politics, and with everything going on. Yeah. There's a lot of need there for something like that, to let people know It's okay that you're not okay, and there is a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll say this, people hear you, but they aren't listening. Mm-hmm. They're standing there looking at you, listening, but they aren't processing what you're saying. Mm-hmm. And that's something that we've somehow, I think, like with Facebook and Instagram and all these digital platforms, we've lost the ability as people to be able to look at each other and talk and communicate and say, hey, man, I empathize with where you're at. And so I think the digital world that we live in has created a shortcoming between us where there's a breakdown in communication, and really people don't care. We've been desensitized by images that we see and videos that we see on the internet, and we just scroll past people and their emotions and their troubles and their trials. And so I guess Listen Friend is more of a cry for, hey, I just really need a friend. So I think it's something we can all relate to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I agree. Now, the name of the album is Darkness I Used to Know.
That's correct.
And when do we expect that? Have we got any sort of a ballpark?
Yeah, so we were going to dump it midsummer. And upon working with Donna Del Sesto, she's a great friend and radio promoter. She is such a powerhouse of a lady. She said, don't release anything. Don't release multiple songs on top of the one you just released, because you don't know how well it's going to do or how well it's going to be received. So we're going to work Listen Friend for a while. I think I'll do an acoustic version of that song.
Nice.
Maybe a lyric video, and then maybe even a music video. I've been kicking that around. But just like I talked about with the digital thing, how it affects people, I think people process things at such a higher rate now. If you dump an album all at one time, people cycle through it so fast. It isn't like back in the day when we'd go pick up a record and it was like, man, what's in the trifold? What's in the book here? Let me read the lyrics. What did he actually say? What's he mean? How about the credits? Who are they thanking?
You'd open that thing up. Maybe it was cassettes for some of y'all.
Yeah.
You'd unfold that thing and you would just study it.
That's right. Same thing with records. It was cool to get the vinyl and look at the vinyl and turn the album over and check it out. I mean, today people just click their song and add it to their playlist and they go on about their day. So as an artist, you have to be careful not to dump everything too fast. So by the end of the year, the record will be out.
Looking forward to that for sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Backstage with Mothership returns after this. Out Performance Shop is a proud supporter of Solid Rock Radio. They specialize in retail and wholesale of automotive, high-performance, racing, and off-road products. They also carry a variety of accessories from remote control cars to rock and roller multi-carts. On the web, at outperformance.com. Check us out on Facebook at I'm with Mothership.
Now, when you were on tour back in the day, what was your favorite snack?
Oh, man, we got treated really well by some people. I would say the best snack I ever had was a steak, like filet mignon. I'll call that a snack, although it's a main portion. But and that was right here, and actually in Cincinnati. We had come back from being all over the place and then played one last show in Cincinnati. Man, these people, they did it right. They did it right. So
kudos, yeah.
But
if you're in the van,
so beef sticks, that's like classic.
The old beef jerky thing.
The obligatory, snap into a Slim Jim, from Macho Man Randy Savage. Yeah, we have to always ask these things. I don't know if you're going to ever go on tour anytime soon, but we have to know what you like so that we can bring tons of it. We were crazy with it. We would kick guys out of the van and have them running alongside the van on the side of the highway trying to get back in. And we had all kinds of wild times. Good stuff.
What's the best compliment you've ever got?
Tattoo of the lyrics on somebody's body.
Wow.
Yeah, hands down. People are kind. People are generous. There's a lot of good in people. But I think the coolest one I've ever seen is when fans come up and they say, hey, your song meant so much to me that I had to have it tattooed on my body. Change is typically the one we see.
What else could anybody do to be more complimentary?
Yeah, definitely. And I don't know. I think that's what it's all about, is connecting with the fans. And that is the highest form of compliment, I think, is if the song means as much to you as it does to me as the writer, then it's a done deal. If you get the same feeling I got while writing and listening to that song, playing it back, and you're getting the same cold chills I got, and the Lord's moving you like he was moving me, then we're flying high.
Those are glory bumps,
Yeah, man, definitely.
Yeah. Well, it just shows you that you've succeeded in getting the message across.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. What's the hardest thing you've ever done?
The hardest thing musically?
Yeah, let's just say musically.
I would say the hardest thing musically, the relationships between the guys that you work with or have worked with, the disagreements that you go through with these guys. And I would say the fact that egos and control and stuff like that can get in the way, and it can water down the original mission of what you were wanting to start and accomplish to begin with, which was to get the music to the fans and to make somebody's heart move. I'd say that's the hardest thing.
How do you reboot after something like that when you're needing to get on stage?
You have to put your professional hat on. I think you have to be able to empathize with other guys that you're working with and try to understand where they're coming from. And then, a big thing, I always say this to my own family. What's said in the family stays in the family. I think as a band, when you're running with 4 or 5 guys, whatever it is that you're running with in a band, that's your family. And so, you just mount up and you do what you have to do.
All right. In your personal life, what's the hardest thing you've ever done?
Oh, man, I just did one of those hard things. Yeah, I would say the hardest thing is I just lost my great-grandmother.
I'm sorry.
Oh, thank you. But, she lived a long, full life. This is my great-grandmother, right?
Yeah.
But she was such a woman of God, such an example of what a godly woman looks like and just how any individual should probably live their life. The hardest thing has been, and I've done it on several occasions now, officiating and singing at their funeral.
Yeah. That is hard.
I would rather be at the White House speaking in front of everybody in America than to be doing that. It's the highest honor to be able to, be there for your loved ones and family like that. But you want to do it so perfectly that you're scared to death. You know what I mean?
I know what you're saying.
It's so difficult. That's difficult. Everything else, I'm a head-on kind of guy. Everything else, I don't find to be too difficult. When it comes to your loved ones, that's where it gets tough.
My husband officiated at his father's funeral.
Yes.
And so I feel you right now. And he had to put that faith on. He had to keep strong for all the people.
See, I'm getting Holy Ghost goosebumps. I'll just say that. Like, you're saying it, and, you're standing there and you're thinking, how am I going to do this? I start playing. I sing a song that she liked called Golden City. I start playing, and Cindy, my left knee is knocking against my right knee. I mean, I'm like, what's wrong with me? I'm standing here going, Lord, give me the strength to do this. You have this immense pressure because you want to honor them in such a way that they would be happy with, and the family. But you're dealing with loss and everything else. And
it's a lot to unpack.
It is. It's a lot to unpack. Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing all that with me. Is there anything I've missed that we need to talk about?
No.
Where should they go to contact you?
Facebook, I guess. Facebook is great. Instagram is great. We're on Twitter. But I will tell you right now, I am so bad about the digital stuff. And that's awful. But if you hit me up, I'm going to get back to you. And, new music, obviously, will continue to come out throughout the year. One of them is, I just had one pulled up. I don't know if you can hear this or not. Here, can I do this? Is this okay?
Sure.
This is one I've been working on, and you've heard Listen Friend.
Mm-hmm.
So this one is called Black Widow. I wanted to get back to my roots, so it's a little bit of a banger.
I like that. Okay.
There it is.
Yeah, wow. Love it. Well, I can't wait for it to be out. You be sure you shoot that over to me when you can.
I will. You got it. You will. You'll get it.
Okay, man. That's awesome.
I want to tell you thank you for taking the time to interview me.
Well, man, thanks for talking to me tonight. Yeah. And we'll see you hopefully on the road one day. I have never seen you live.
Yeah, you'll see me out there. It's only a matter of time, especially when this album drops.
Cool. I'll take that as a promise. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you for listening tonight. Stay tuned for more great music all night long. Be sure to check out my I'm with Mothership Facebook page and Solid Rock Radio's website. Follow the link under shows to Backstage with Mothership, which will have the links to my guests' social media accounts. This show will be replayed at 4 a.m. Eastern Time. Past interviews available on podcast.solidrockradio.org, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on Pandora platforms. And remember this week, be kind to one another.